USJ chili pan mi, which is like there's 11 of these restaurants in KL, and you can see here they do like a spicy pork chop noodle, and my mouth is on fire. I added additional chili flakes, and I went to another pan mi restaurant the other week, and it wasn't very spicy. So I just put like 1 spoon in, but their chili flakes are significantly more spicy. So I am now suffering, but in a good way. Hey guys, so I never thought I'd see this, but look. There is a Taco Bell. Crazy, right? Also, I love this creative drying rack situation. So today we're at Hakka, which is a very famous Chinese restaurant, so let me show you around. Hi guys, so because I'm in Malaysia now, and I'm doing a lot of like touring around and showing you guys the area, plus the fact that we want to have a bit more conversations in our channel. I mean, it's just kind of our lived experience, and that's part of sharing this video thing. So where to begin? Well, since I'm showing you guys around Malaysia, I thought I'd talk about what it was like growing up here, as well as like how I came into the realization of my homosexuality while living here in Malaysia. So for those who might not know, Malaysia is a Muslim country. And I am 28, so I was living here back in, when did I graduate? 2011 minus 8, 7, 8, so that makes it 2003. So I moved here in 2003 from Vancouver to enter into elementary school, 5th grade. And then I lived here until I graduated high school, which was, my senior year was in 2011. So I was in an international school, so regardless, I was still sheltered. But growing up in Malaysia, there were no safe spaces for gay people, or not at least that I knew of. After I graduated high school, I found out that there was a gay bar called Frangipani, but besides that one place, I don't really know if there was any kind of community here in Malaysia. Point being, though, there was definitely none for people who weren't full grown adults. I think it's changed now. I know that my school has an probably LGBTQIA plus association or alliance in the school, so that if you are, in your questioning, or you need to have access to certain information, then you can go and find those individuals. Now, that being said, my school had a complete anti-bullying policy. It was very open-minded. I'm sure that if I had come out earlier, and there was one other individual in my school who was openly gay when I was in high school, and I mean, there was always support and kindness, and there was faculty who would be there and ready to listen. So it wasn't like I was in a closed-minded environment, and I'm so blessed to have had that sense of security. But it was still the overall environment in Malaysia was not very gay supportive. It's still not, although there has been some progress in the right direction. So I came to realize that I was gay when I was in 7th grade. So 7th grade, I was 12? I think I turned 12. And there was one of my friends, I think in 6th grade I had a crush on her. And then, or I wanted to be her in a sense, or she embodied a lot of what I thought was beauty and elegance and intellect. And then I found out she was dating this guy, and it was all really like internally messy. And he was a friend of mine as well, and I don't know why I was so upset at the time. I was so angsty. There were so many emotions going through me. And I think it was just pure jealousy and envy at that time. And I remember lashing out and not being a very good friend or a good person at that time of my life. But I just remember realizing in that year I had a larger crush for my female friend's boyfriend than I did on the female friend. And that I wanted to be her rather than date her, and I wanted to date him. And so the combination of those two together just made me green with jealousy, and I was very dumb. I mean, I guess we were all kids at some point, not really knowing how to deal with our emotions and what we're processing. But, you know, I never really came to terms with it until much later in my life. But yeah, so that was probably when I first realized that I was different. And then in 8th grade, that jealousy and that angst kind of boiled over. There was this whole incident where I ended up like slapping that boy that I liked. I ended up like slapping him, and it was just like very melodramatic. I won't bore you guys with the details, but basically I lost the foundation of my friend group then for a good reason, because I was being childish. And I had to restart, and I became more recluse. I changed my friendship groups. And I think I just naturally shifted towards like the drama, I guess stereotypical, right? The drama kind of crowd where I felt I could find more acceptance, perhaps. That and finding a little bit of a more recluse and private corner to continue my existence and to explore my sexuality, subconsciously drawn to. I mean, I knew I was gay. By the time I started 8th grade, I knew. And so, yeah, that's who I was. But I never felt like there was somebody I could talk to about it. There wasn't much representation on TV either at the time. That's why I think that, you know, it's so important to have that representation now. I think that one of the reasons that Arthur and I both wanted to create this channel was because right now there is a lot of representation out there, and I know it's growing, and I'm glad to see that. But in Asia, there's not many people who grew up in Asia, came out in Asia, who have that much visibility online. There's people who are like already openly gay, and they're really championing the gay rights movement here in Asia, but I don't think people are talking about the struggle of growing up gay in Asia as much as we possibly could be. You know, we all have our own different lived experiences, our own different struggles, but you know, I thought maybe sharing mine might be helpful. Of course, I grew up in a very privileged circle, not just in lifestyle, but I mean in social circumstances. In the sense that like the people around me were very liberally minded. I was living in a Muslim country, but vastly unaffected due to the fact I lived in the expat bubble. But I did still, even with all this protection, feel the pressure and the uncertainty or the lack of support to come out. And it took up a lot of courage and a lot of fear, combined, because they come hand in hand, fear and courage, to come out to my parents. And I think that if I wasn't in that, I mean, I just can't even, I think it's so much harder. There's so many people who have a harder path to coming out than I did, especially here in Malaysia. I mean, if I were born into a different family, maybe a local family in a local school without any kind of assurance that somebody will listen to you, or even, you know, physical safety. I never once thought to myself that me coming out could jeopardize my life. But I know that there are places in Malaysia where being gay could risk your safety. Derailing here, a little bit off track, but you know, I just do want to say that my lived experience is my own, and I'm not going to downplay it or make it sound like it wasn't difficult, but there's a lot of people with a lot more complicated situations, and I would say a lot more difficult situations. So I know my blessings. Anyways, so I was going to say, what else was there that I was going to ask? Oh, so I did write a little poem that kind of expresses how I felt during this time period. So I thought maybe I'll read that aloud. Well, it's not a poem, it's like a passage. Everyone else knew I was a broken pot, but I refused to see the reflection in their eyes. And so with time, while everyone else seemed to be filled up with water and flowers and began blossoming into their own nature, I hid behind their foliage. I tried to pretend that their flowers were mine. And I imagined that if we arranged ourselves together, then nobody would notice I was empty. Unable to relate, unable to grow, leaking at the points that seemed the most important, it became clear that there was no such thing as camouflage. So I decided to recluse myself. In my loneliness, I found myself surrounded by new people, new pots, all of us slightly fractured or different. We developed our own dusty garden corner and decided not to label it. But when I was left to my own thoughts, I knew what we were. The corner where flowers don't grow. The funny thing is that no one else saw us that way. It was a label that I ascribed to myself and my friends, and in so doing manifested to others. I look in hindsight and see how many times other people tried to accommodate me, tried to not label my homosexuality for me, but let me blossom into who I truly was. Their attempts to give me clay to patch my holes and therefore become whole, I perceived as threats of outing me. And I honestly would have done the same had our positions been reversed, offered clay to the broken pot. But what took me so long to learn was that my broken pot thrived when submerged in a pond. I don't need to be patched up. I need to accept where I bloom best. My cracks are doorways and my hollow interior a perfect home to fish. Lilies grow around me and I am covered green with mildew. I now picture myself as the birth of Venus, emerging from a pond a fully grown woman, born anew, pot, now goddess. Anyways, that was kind of my reflection on how I felt during high school. But yeah. Not sure if this was the kind of conversation you guys are interested in, but I thought I'd just try it. I find it nice to talk to myself, to talk to a camera, to talk to you guys, and a little bit therapeutic. But yeah, thanks for listening.